All right. Thank you so much for your visiting the tape group, the Master Teacher tape group. Thank you so much for participating, for deciding to join. That's amazing. That's so lovely. So still some are coming in. I'm really happy that you're here, and this is a well-prepared meeting, you can say. It's like this was only possible to start this now. That's why we do it. And why that is, you will discover just for your own feeling. Like here now suddenly there's the space to do this, and that's because of you and because of your openness and your immediate yes to say, yes, I want this, I want to be there. Yes, absolutely. And that is so amazing. That's so great. So I'm really grateful for that's occurring. And so today is in fact the introduction to the Master Teacher. But see, the one thing that he certainly didn't want is to become an idol or some kind. Like, no. He was always referring back, and he still is referring back to you. Like, this is all about you. It's not about anyone else. It's not about me as an idol of a master teacher or something. Like, he never called himself the master teacher. He called himself the old man, or so it doesn't really matter. So he never used his own human name after his awakening. Like, he didn't use that, just because it has nothing to do with this, says, man-made name, man-made identity. Now, how do you start a Master Teacher tape group? Well, this is how it looks. And I'm going to use some materials from his website and some expressions that he uses in the tape that we're going to listen to. And the introduction of the Master Teacher website. Okay. The introduction to the Master Teacher website will give some answers to your questions, like who called him the Master Teacher? Well, he was a teacher of teachers, and he is a teacher of teachers. So that means, like, he wants you to demonstrate what you have accepted for yourself as the truth of who you are. He wanted you to step in and demonstrate that. And that was his, and is his, teaching focus. Like, he helps you to come into self-expression as the you that you truly are, as the self that you truly are. So it's a teacher of teachers, a master teacher. He's a master over the teachers. And having gone through, and we'll read that too, like I copied that into the description of the tape that we're going to listen to too. Like, having gone through the whole procedure, you could say, the whole curriculum of A Course in Miracles, it makes you, in fact, a master. Makes you, that you want to. Manual for teachers, you see, like, who is a teacher of God? Anyone who chooses to be one. Now, there's a certain succession in the sense of development, in which you find yourself in the procedure to become, in fact, a one completely healed and whole teacher of God. And one is sufficient to save the world, and this one that is sufficient to save the world is you, because this is in fact your world. Nobody else made it but you. Now, having completely accepted that, and having gone through the process of, in fact, healing, bringing healing and wholeness, and say literally extending your whole mind into this world that you have created, is the accomplishment of A Course in Miracles, in fact, of the curriculum of A Course in Miracles. Now, that sounds like a school plan, and if you finish that, then you graduate or something. None of that is so. So you can also say, this is my experience with Master Teacher. being in direct connection with him is being directly in connection with spirit, being directly present here and now. That is, to me, the master teacher. And that's not a person, it's not, no, it's being present in the moment. And completely present in the moment. Whole-mindedness in this moment. And yeah, you see that, in fact, in every audio video, the only thing that is being presented is a new frequency of light that you can connect with. And the only reason it is there, and not any other reason, like the only reason it is there is for complete healing and complete coming into the freedom of your own whole mind. So in other words, there's an experience being offered continuously, and whether you understand the words, whether you, any of those things are in fact of less importance. The thing is that once you tap into the frequency, you hear what is being said. It's like that. Our ears are opening and you actually receive it directly. And that recognition is not like, oh yeah, now I understand what he's talking about. No, not at all. So the receiving of this frequency is also disappearing into the heart of God at the same time. So that's why I'm saying it's a direct experience of communication directly related to what is being shared. Literally, it only comes from there, and the only concern is your recognition of that and joining with that, not resisting it, but joining with it. Not looking for differences, not looking for interpretations, not looking for opinions about it, not comparing it, not any of those activities, just pure coming into a pure acceptance of this light, not of the personality, not of the master teacher as an entity or something. No, the light, that's the reference, and that is only in you. It's not from anywhere else. Now there's a real invitation there's a calling going out, and you have heard that calling. That's why you are here. Now I'm going to read literally this calling, which is really lovely to read anyway. Listen this world. Listen to this call. All of you out there, wherever or whenever you think you are invited to this gathering. It is a celebration of the homecoming of the teachers of God. You are one of us, as we are one together. We invite you to the miraculous advent of the reunion of your mind with the mind of God. You've come a long way. You are very much closer to the end of time than you realize. Now is it time, at last, to free yourself from this chaotic world of loneliness and of loss and death and pain. A world constructed by your own nightmare of self-identity. It was only a meaningless place that justified your continuing need of self-sacrifice and annihilation. You have been using it in order to verify and sustain your apparent existence, and now, at last, it has become intolerable to you. Come then, be freed of this burden of fear and self-doubt that you thought was a necessary and inescapable part of your existence. Come and free yourself that the world may be free. Come now to this celebration, you who are heavy laden. We invite you to experience the incomparable healing energies of love emanating from this ever-expanding circle of atonement. It is formed with teachers of God through their uncompromising commitment to and recognition of the miraculous, spontaneous transformation and illumination of their individual minds and bodies. Listen carefully. Stay watchful for the love that is all about you. Come and lay aside the grievances of your old, pitiful, fearful, helpless self. You are entering into a brand new yet very ancient, rapidly accelerating continuum of time, in which you will recognize yourself as a perfect creation of God. It's important to remember as you enter this continuum that it is totally impossible for you to meet a stranger anywhere or anytime. The celebrants at this end of time gathering, who are sharing the continuing experience of the grace of God, are at last only subjects in the drama of your ongoing temporal reality. You know every celebrant here, and you know them well, for indeed, in whatever form they may appear, they retain for you every loving thought and deed that you have shared since time began. All of them are the vital images contained in the miracle of your own personal rebirth and resurrection. Remember too, this old world of desolation and separation that you have heretofore shared with them. All of these fanciful images in your mutual memories of death that emanated from your momentary incursion into this world are all over and gone, and, in fact, were all over and gone a very long time ago. They are only the history of a mistake long since passed away and forgotten. Release them from the bondage of time and space that has been fearfully fantasized by your own meaningless temporal identity. Watch them spring to light with you as you fulfill the inevitable revolutionary metamorphosis of your own human identity to the singular universal mind of eternal creating reality. Welcome back then from a journey that went nowhere, and in reality took no time at all, for in truth you have never left your home in heaven. Enter graciously into this borderland between time and eternity, with forgiveness and love in your heart, that you may experience the miraculous certainty that you are still only and have always been the perfect eternal joy and happiness that is the creating mind of God. See then the light that is all about you. See then the joy of these teachers as they declare to you that you are perfect as God created you. Welcome, welcome all. So the Master Teacher is a teacher of God through illumination of mind and body. That is the fulfillment of the mission of A Course in Miracles. He constitutes a continuing union with the mind of Jesus of Nazareth through the Holy Spirit. As a teacher of God, he demonstrates the passion of rebirth. That is the goal of all of us in the mind training of the Course in Miracles. Alright, so this is the introduction, this is the call, like the invitation. And so this is also a good reference point in that sense. If you see this meeting, that it can take place is because you literally have decided to join a gathering that isn't taking place in time and space at all. Like it looks like an online class, but it has nothing to do with that. So this is taking place literally outside of this frame, and it has everything to do with you, but not as you see yourself, but as it is possible for you to experience yourself as the whole Christ, you could say, the whole mind that you are. And in that sense it is a unique gathering because it is placeless, it is timeless, it is out of time. Now this is really lovely, and so in the video that we're going to watch, it's an audio, I decided to look at a bit of the reference to A Course in Miracles that Master Teacher uses in this talk specifically. I so want to be clear. I do everything I can to be clear. So here's the beautiful background with the galaxy, and this Master Teacher teaching outside the healing center. And here's our text from chapter 31, the first paragraph basically it is. How simple is salvation? All it says is, what was never true is not true now, and never will be. The impossible has not occurred and can have no effects, and that is all. Can this be hard to learn by anyone who wants it to be true? How simple is salvation? All it says is, what was never true is not true now, and will never be. The impossible has not occurred and can have no effects, and that is all. Only unwillingness to learn it could make such an easy lesson difficult. How hard is it to see that what is false cannot be true, and what is true cannot be false? And that should be easy, right? You can no longer say that you perceive no differences in false and true. You have been told exactly how to tell them apart from one another, and just what to do if you become confused. Why then do you persist in learning not such simple things? Right? How interesting, huh? Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to spill that. So this will be shared. So we're almost ready to enter into the court, you could say. The talk that we're going to listen to is the Ecstasy of the Impossibility. And in fact, there was a subtitle. I'm going to look it up. I always forget these titles. So it's like The Ecstasy of Impossibility, and there's a light alternative. And so this talk is from Sedona, probably somewhere in the mid-90s it was recorded, but it really doesn't matter because it is brand new. It was never heard, and you are the first one to receive this. And that's really like that. Now, you see that in the recordings that we use, I choose recordings that don't have music, so that there's a subtitle in French on the audios. So it's not the only selection I make. It is like I really like to give an overview of what Master Teacher teaches. So in different times he uses different aspects, of course. So that's interesting to see an overview. Probably we have like 9 meetings, I think, in which we can do this. So it's like now we start quite at the beginning, not completely, because there's an earlier set of tapes too. The first 5 years, for instance, with the Return of the Heretics. And the Return of the Heretic. We have used that before in the classes too, by the way. You can look that up. So here, just to give this a start, it is like, this is a live seminar. This is in Sedona. It's a live seminar in Arizona. It's a live seminar. And the ones that are coming to this meeting, it's like it's an open meeting. The ones that are coming to it, some have experience with the Course in Miracles, some don't have not at all. And it is like, okay, so here we start. And you see that because of the energy that is in fact given, you see that there's a lot of release, emotional release, people going through things while they are in the meetings, and this is just like the very first meeting in a series of 3 or 4, so that really doesn't matter. So it's like it's only about your experience. You don't have to imitate anything. You don't have to do it that way. You have no idea how to respond to this, and that's perfectly all right. So whatever, and this is important, whatever you feel coming up, let it happen, let it be. Release whatever you can. If something comes up, release. Why not? Why holding on to it? It's like this is a whole different adventure altogether, because you're literally coming in touch with a direct link with out of time that is talking to you and not to anyone else. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is saying about it. This is only for you. And yeah, Master Teacher for 45 minutes. So that's the tape that we're listening to. This is part 1 of the Sedona tapes.
See, but each time you're being a thought, you have to have it, you see, in association, and define yourself by the thought that you then possess as to what you are. Is there a question on this? If there is, ask it. See, the perceptual mind actually has associate thoughts, doesn't it? It has thoughts about itself. Huh? That's the necessary step to salvation. What? It is aware that it's aware. That's an astonishing accomplishment of some sort. I mean, a giraffe doesn't need it. A giraffe is a perfect giraffe. Not you. No. You're not. You want something besides just being perfect. Okay. What's the difference between a giraffe and God? Nothing. Giraffism is what Godism is, because totality of expression is what reality is. You're the one that has the problem, because you have thoughts about yourself, silly as it seems. Well, as soon as you do that, what do? Formulate yourself in a thought association, don't you? Now you're dealing with your own thoughts. Lots of luck. There's no escape from it. Obviously, you think the thoughts are outside of yourself and you're using them. The escape is obviously to teach a Course in Miracles. Allow you to see that you're the cause of your own thoughts. And that's what's happening to you. Now, the process of doing that is very simply, okay, to stop defining yourself in a perceptual relationship with yourself. The Course in Miracles is nothing but a loss of conceptual self. And it says it, and it says it, and it says it. Okay? And at that moment, what happened to you? Okay? All of the glorious revelation of God creating perfectly, that is universal consciousness, that is all around you, for just that moment was revealed to you. And it changed everything that you had in all of your thoughts in association with yourself. Isn't that amazing? Okay, got that? Everybody got that? I got to go once more to the core teaching. Hopefully then the miracle groups will begin to teach this fundamental lesson, and then I'll be going home. See, all you have to do is say to me, yes, I will do this. Let's go to 31. Where? 600. I'll give you a little instruction here. Because it will say the 31 will define salvation. Okay, in all of its utter simplicity. Okay, now the minimum requirement is you say, yes, this is what salvation is. Okay, then in 31 you can look at the problem that you are having, and it will say, why is this so difficult for you to do? And it will ask the rhetorical question. Okay, I'll show you. I wrote it. Didn't all that lucid, really. The later editions have revised this a little. This will work for you perfectly. Here's what it says. Just what we were talking about last night. How simple is salvation? You want to really hear what this says? Just for the first time? It's very, very simple. There's absolutely nothing to it. Nothing could be simpler than salvation or you waking up from this and being with God. Why? All it says, salvation says this. Okay, this is now something it's going to say it. That what was never true, this, is not true now and never will be. That's a good step. No Course in Miracles group should ever begin except until they recite the first 5 lessons of the workbook. Right. Every time they come together, they should really sit down, as none of us know what the hell we're talking about. Right. Let's be about going home to God. This is a Course in Miracles. I want the miracle. I don't care what you did when you came in here. That's gone anyway. Let's get around being with God. That's a miracle. A lot of you are doing it. Okay. The impossible has not occurred and can have no effects. Why hasn't it occurred? It's impossible. This is impossible. It's got nothing to do with whether you believe it or not. I'm just trying to cement in the certainty, what? That there is no communication between reality and this. That this is an entirely momentary or stretched in time different place that has nothing to do with reality at all. If you can get that step, you'll save yourself thousands and thousands a year. The whole basis of this teaching is none of this is so. All right? And that's all. Okay? The impossible has not occurred and can have no effect, and that's all. Can this be hard to learn by anyone who wants it to be true? No. The answer has to be no. If you've gotten this far. Don't you want it to be true? Huh?
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
If you want it to be true that this is an impossible place and can't be real and that you're sick and dying here and don't want it anymore, it will be true that this is not real.
Yes.
Okay, you can't escape the responsibility for your own thoughts. Yes. You're demanding that I explain to you your own dilemma. You keep looking outside of yourself and demand a solution for the problem that you don't want to solve. That's a statement of fact. And the more you want to solve it, what? The more it'll be solved. Only unwillingness to learn it could make such a very simple lesson seem difficult. How hard is it to see that what is false cannot be true? This is the preamble. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Ready? When you are fearful, you are non-existent. Is a sentence that should be written into. It's written into the later editions. Listen, nothing real can be threatened, right? In reality, everything that there is in the universe can be threatened. It can't be threatened by itself, can it? Not really. It's not afraid. Nothing unreal exists. Somewhere in perception, you believe that some things are real and some things are unreal. You believe that you can imagine something that'll be separate from what you think is reality. You're a liar. Everything is true. That's the only way you can get this. If it's all just imagination, okay? When you are fearful, though, you are literally non-existent because fear does not exist.
Yes.
You see? Yeah. This will explain why you have a tough time with that. The reason you have a tough time with it, very obviously, is you're starting out fearful. And you seek a relief in the objective certainty that you can overcome your own fear without ever overcoming it. You really don't want to overcome it because your reality is based on being fearful. What the Course in Miracles really says, plainly from beginning to end, is neither side of the argument is true. And that's what this will say. Neither side of the argument you're having with yourself in regard to the choice that you think you're making has anything to do with reality at all. Class? All of your comparisons are inherently non-existent. That's what this actually says. Okay? How hard is it to see that what is false cannot be true and what is true cannot be false? You can't say anymore that you perceive no difference in false and truth. Why? You have been told exactly how to tell one from the other and just what to do if you become confused. Okay? These are sentences that you've learned. Okay? Anything that doesn't last forever is not real. Anything that I depend on to give me relief will not be so. Those are the lessons. Why is it you haven't wanted to learn that? Yes. Why then do you persist in learning not such a simple thing? And you do. Obviously you're here. There's a reason. But confuse it not with difficulty in the simple things that salvation asks you to learn. It teaches but the very obvious. It merely goes from one apparent lesson to the next in easy steps that lead you gently from one to another with no strain at all unless you insist on a strain. This cannot be confusing, yet you are confused. Why? Since you are confused, you actually believe you can solve your confusion. But if you're really confused, there is no solution to your confusion. It will just create more confusion. Because the thing that is confused has no reality. Because anything that is confused doesn't know what it is. Okay? What you are most finally fearful to hear, quite literally, is that you don't know who you are. And any form of confusion is a form of insanity from which there is no relief. Because the insane mind is contained within itself. Okay. This can't be confusing, yet you're confused. Why? Somehow you believe that what is totally confused is easier to learn and understand. You are accustomed to the confusion and base your reality on the solution to the problem without looking at the simple statement that the problem is not real. And until you do that, you can't make progress in the Course in Miracles. Do you see?
Yes.
I mean, you good Socratic minds can see this very plainly. You've got to start with the premise that you don't know who you are. When Ted Koppel tried to deal with it with the astronomers who had constructed the Big Bang and are right back at the beginning, he asked a very logical, reasonable question. He says, well, yeah, but what about before that? What about before the bang? It had scrunched it down into the most smallest, incredible. This is just an indication of separation, incidentally. It had to be a particle no matter what the density. Okay? And they're trying to define it. It's just one single atom that subsequently exploded. And after they got all done and real lucid, saying, well, nothing, saying everything contained within time, it said. And Kappa goes, well, I don't want to belabor this. Well, what was there before then? He said, we don't concern ourselves with that. Isn't that funny? Time finally cannot concern itself with eternity. If it does, it will lose itself. You see? So what it actually ends up saying are two things. It might very well say, well, there's a creator that we don't know about, or it'll say there was nothing before that, which is saying the same thing. In other words, if it can't perceive of it, it is nothing. We teach if you can't perceive of it, it is everything. And if you can perceive of it, it is nothing. Everything is nothing. Do you understand? It's the same idea as I just told you about having thoughts. You really can't have thoughts. Who's having them? I don't know, but I'm having a lot of them. And I'm going to have a lot of opinions about it in order to solve the confusion that I feel about myself. But obviously you can't solve the problem because you're not asking the right question. Now, the most right question you can ask is still confusing because it's not real. The only question you could really ask about this is what? What am I? Okay. No one in reality that would be real could ask the question, what am I? But we must allow you to ask the question because you believe in your perception that you can establish yourself in some sort of an identity. True?
Yes.
Everyone that comes here is trying to figure out who they are. But the whole idea of trying to figure out who they are is what's keeping them from knowing who they are. That's the separation, guys. Okay? Somehow, you believe that what is totally confused is easier to learn and understand. It's incredible that you could do this. You want to see the persistence of your utilization of your individual power of mind to keep from being with God? Do you really understand what you do with this power of your mind? To hold on to your identity? To exist? You're going to take every single device there is and use the whole power of the universe to stay in your dream. Remember what Jesus says, don't look up, don't dare look around and see these things that are around you. Keep yourself in this perception. Okay. What you have taught yourself is an incredible, giant learning feat. It's indeed incredible. We don't know how the hell you could do it. When we found you, we couldn't believe what you had done. Can you hear this? When we discovered you, you were caught without a total essence. Okay? You were coming literally from a little dot. Which is nothing but compacted thought. Okay? The little dot they're speaking of is compacted God energy. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Everything is God energy.
Yes.
At the time of the Big Bang, it out. I don't tell that story very often. It went sort of, the Big Bang that they're speaking of is like that. Can you hear that? Can you feel that? When Jesus deals with the Big Bang in the Course, he says there was a... Okay? But it didn't last long enough for anybody to really notice it. Except you. You noticed it. Can you hear that? As soon as you noticed it, you were caught in it. You see? You're caught in the... And this is what they're describing. Okay? But remember that the pressure of God, which is what gravity is nothing but the pushing out of the schism. Could only push reality, could only push the compactness of light form to the most intense density that could be achieved. This is called a black hole. Okay, we're just pushed down in, it's so tight. At that point, the great reversal occurred. It had to occur. What? There isn't any such thing. I get into gender here if I give this talk. I may mention gender because this is what you're dealing with, but I didn't want to get into this necessarily the psychology of it. What this says is you have a feat, accomplished a reality based on a potential, and believe that you are emanating from a source of a black hole. Quite literally. And you've constructed nature gods, haven't you? Okay, who actually believe they are coming from this hole. That's what nature gods are.
Yeah.
Okay, correlations of identity in dispersed great rays, in compacted great rays, without the capacity of expending creative energy. Now, where are you then in this association? If you're in the Big Bang, all right? Obviously, God is here and all around you. The compression down to the black hole occurs, and immediately, okay, is confounded by the impossibility of its staticness, and it springs to life. All the Course really describes is this moment, doesn't it? It'll use terms like the great reversal. It'll say you could only go out so far because you never could escape from reality. It says things like that. Then the great reversal occurred and you come back. Now, what is an ego? What is a human being? A human being is an association of energy that is meeting itself, coming and going. Class?
Yes.
Up until the formation of a God in the idea of man, nature was well provided for by its association of its potential, which is Mother Earth, isn't it? You notice how Earth is always female?
Yes.
I might as well get into why there's no female in the Course in Miracles. The idea of potential or coming to, okay, of holding is Mother Nature.
Yes.
Or female.
Yes.
A lack of fulfillment is what female is. A question on this? Okay, is there a question? I'll answer it. The female or the potential, which is the black hole, needs to be activated by the energy factor of creative purpose, which in that sense would be male.
Right.
All right. Okay. Here's the problem that you have. The Course in Miracles teaches from certainty that there isn't any such thing as potential. Literally. The moment you have a thought, it activates the potential that you thought was there fully. Can you hear this?
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
You believe that you're grabbing a bunch of thoughts from your black hole and using them in association with yourself. Okay? And that you still have some thoughts that you can use up. But remember, you're using the power of your own creative purpose or God to activate the potential contained within your own mind. Okay? Now, that's why there's no such thing as fear. I understand. I've got to get you past this. There are associations, female, that are going to rewrite the Course in Miracles and put in the female gender. I'm not dealing with that at all. That obviously is the necessity for that individual persona to identify itself. That doesn't make any difference whether it's male or female, right? It's going to assert that it's a female, and the male doesn't mind calling it sister if it wants to be called sister. Then you can become brother and sisters in this association. You'll say, you're right, you are a female. All they're agreeing to is their own individual identity. You got to get past that. Now, what a lot of you have done with the gender problem, which is a problem of the word there's no female, is said, well, it doesn't have a female in it, and I'm just going to have to accept it. Okay? It doesn't say female, and but I can have faith that what Jesus intended me to do, that I'll be able to do. I don't think you can work that. Somehow you retain a resentment in the association of why this male dominance is being asserted against your loving female. Okay. Why there is no gender, once more, is that there is no such thing as potential. The requirement of a separate male, that is the assertion of God's Son, who has denied his Father, is the source of his own creative purpose. Yeah, I'm going to get beyond you here. That's what Eve is. Okay? Eve can take the male activations of man, okay, and utilize it in her potential or the defense of her potentialism, and utilize a male separate from her to activate her wishes or desires. A male, okay, and I'm not going to get into why the gender split. Obviously, gender is another split from the source of the separation. But it's very necessary for a male to have a fulfillment or he couldn't create. You see? So all males create from the source of what you call Elohim, or female. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Elohim is the seven sisters. The female, I don't think I could express that. It's the Pleiades. The seven sisters are the Pleiades, or the centers of your body associations, which are female. In Revelations, John calls it the churches. Yes. You notice that the church is always the mother church? Yes. Obviously, because the mother church is what needs what? The impregnation of the male in order to be whole. Right. Let me clear this up for you once and for all. There's no such thing as gender. There's no such thing as a male marrying a female. When Jesus has a problem 2,000 years ago, it's in the Bible. The Pharisees are going to corner him. And they say, well, Jesus, what about in heaven? What about marriage in heaven? How can he answer it? Okay. He says there isn't any such thing as marriage in heaven. So now you got to teach there's no such thing as marriage in heaven, as though somehow the satisfaction of your potential or the activation of you is something that was going to be outside of you. And you really don't like the idea of it. But you have to pretend you like the idea of it, or seek for some source within yourself for the solution, which you really don't want to do. To any whole mind, it makes no difference how you identify yourself in relationship to what you think you are. It is impossible that you do not have the full potential association for salvation, or you wouldn't be sitting here with me. The whole idea that you're looking out for a male to impregnate you is what the hell your problem is. You can only be impregnated by God. Okay, the teaching actually is self-impregnation, but I don't know how I can describe it to you. Quite obviously, you're going to take your own female essence, which is your own genetic association with yourself, and activate it to the purpose from your Jerusalem. This is nothing but the birth of the Christ in you. Come on, guys. Where do you think the Christ child is born but in your own association? Impregnated by your own thought forms about yourself. Holy mackerel. Now, is there a difference in the manner in which the enlightened minds come to their own revelation, say between the male and the female? There's a little difference, but so what? We're still talking about the activation of the potential. Okay? Generally speaking, the female potential will examine itself, and the male will be more trusting in his energy. But none is going to do it without the other, because they're what they are in unison with each other. The problem you actually have in dealing with is not that. The problem you have in dealing with is your own sexuality. Okay. What is very difficult for you to understand, and I'll give it as simply as I can, is that the universe is only passion. And the potential of an association apparently separate from God is only the passion of the conversion of his potential to his creative reality. Can you see this? If you have a potential mind, all right, what you want to do is make your mind a virgin, clear your mind, the Virgin Mary. Come from Magdalene females, which is the whore, the Magdalene, which is in all sorts of perceptions of itself in its potential, to the Virgin, so that you can be impregnated by the divine thing of God. If that's too esoteric for you, that's too bad. This is what the whole idea of being impregnated by the Holy Ghost is, for goodness sake. And you say to me, well, can it happen to a male or a female? I say, what the hell difference does it make? I positively guarantee you that somewhere you're exactly as much male as you are female. I'm not concerned about how you're identifying yourself in the slightest. The only thing I look for in gender is stability. Can you hear this? The only thing I'm looking for is a consciousness somehow that has come into a fundamental respect for itself and association with itself. Otherwise, if it's having sexual difficulties, it can't formulate itself into a fundamental realization of what its own ego is.
Yeah.
And that can be a hell of a problem. Do you understand? Otherwise, I could care less what a gender is. You are going to be what you say you are, aren't you? Well, it seems like there's more females doing the Course in Miracles than there are males. There are. Because we're deeper in the potential. Question? Ask it if you want to. Actually, that ratio is starting to change because of you guys. There's really, somewhere in time there's actually no difference, and somewhere in time it's all male because the potential's fulfilled. But if you want to sit on your butt and be a female, go ahead and insist on it. Then you can call Jesus a male chauvinist and say you're never going to allow yourself to be impregnated except under the terms that you're willing to accept. And since you don't know your own female potential, you will not accept the impregnation by the Holy Ghost. You cannot not, because you defined the male essence that you want to impregnate you based on the potential that you have for yourself. Is this coming through? You're hearing me perfectly well. Does a male do the same thing? Of course he does exactly the same thing. He establishes his female potential, doesn't he? Because potential is what female is. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to activate it in my own mind and cause it to occur. What's he doing? He's taking his right brain, I'll do it this way for you, which is his early brain, which is all of his female, his late brain, which came along in man, okay? His late brain, his active, conceptual brain, and taking his female and activating it into his own creative purpose. That's what I told you when we started it. And that's what you're doing now. Do you see? You're not sitting on your own female, huh? When we talk about it in the Course, it means that what? The Christ child is born in you. The one perfect idea from the one perfect mind to the spark, we call it, has been formed. And he's very little, and he's very tender. Nomads, we used to call him. But he's always there, and every 28 days, lunar months, he'll come out. He's always being activated and flourishing unless you use your potential to kill him. If you will let him grow and flourish within your own associations, he will become whole. Okay? When Jesus is born in Bethlehem, okay, Herod is very fearful that the Christ will survive. Herod is the establishment. So he slaughters all of the innocents that he can find in order to find the Christ child, so that Jesus cannot escape. Okay, this is the construction of the human being in what you call the Red Sea. Yes. This is the coming up out of Egypt through the Red Sea up to Jerusalem. Yes. Okay, which is the site. Yes. But remember, you got the Pharaoh is after you, and you need to part the Red Sea, so you're going to nurture this lovely little Christ. Jesus says, take care of this little thing. It's very real if you'll let it come up into your mind. So when we're dealing with gender, we're always only dealing with potential fulfilled. Okay? And it's always only in you. And if you're determined that you can find a male association outside of you that can fulfill you potentially, that will be true holy relationships. Under this circumstance, you do not give him a perceptual association with you in demand for the retention of your female identity. Okay. And it's exactly the same as a male does with a female. Okay. No, we teach it this way. All right. If there is no perceptual association between the congruency of the male-female aspects that are apparently separate from each other, they will enter into a bond or union or holy relationship that is godly. The manner in which you attempt to formulate holy relationships is precisely and exactly what keeps you from formulating them. Exactly. Okay. Holy relationships are never formulated by perceptual identities and associations. This is exactly what I told you last night. any identity you're going to give the other association is going to hold yourself in the limitation of that identity that you've given yourself in him. Question on this. A special relationship can never become holy. It can only be released to be holy. You might as well hear it. I'm giving you the absolute truth. How then are holy relationships formed? The individual association makes a dedication to the Course in Miracles or to finding God, regardless of the circumstances in which he finds himself. Any other association outside of him that does the same thing will immediately enter into a relationship with that identity based on what? Common goal. Yes. Teachers, it's impossible to have a common goal and not be the same. Yes. Literally. The whole idea that there are separate goals that are binding you to your special relationships. You're willing to share some of your goals, but not all of them. All you have to really do is say, I'm going to God, and everybody will say amen and join in with you. Why will they? They're your own thoughts. I'm just circling around that. So you'll see some lovely holy relationships. If you need definitions of relationships, you'll see them form, but they may be a little different to what you term relationship. They don't make demands in the association with the satisfaction they want to derive from actions contained within time. They are in perfect harmony because they don't question the purpose of the association. Key. There is no question in a holy relationship about the purpose of the association. Come on, I'm going to give you your relationships, and you're going to screw it up, but each time that you do, you can look at what you're doing to each other. And you can practice it, and I'd sure like to get you through it. I'd like to have you see that reality is your union with God, and that your relationships were designed specifically to keep you from doing it. That being said, we will deal with your relationships if you'll let us. Okay? What did he say? What does this have to do with this beautiful light that's all around you? It has nothing to do with it, and it has everything to do with it. And the everything that it has to do with it is the dilemma that you are experiencing in your own body-mind. Okay, if you were really atoned at one, you wouldn't need salvation. Yes. The fact of the matter is you are here because you are in separation from God. Yes. And you can sit around, aren't we all having a lovely time being with God? Go ahead. Okay. I'm here because I perceive a problem in my association with the totality of me and am overcoming each moment. If your problem has solved, you don't need me. Right. And I understand perfectly well that each moment you've been solving your problem. And I understand perfectly well that I'm taking this or myself and saying, no, that's not your problem. No, that's not your problem. No, that will not solve it. You are perfect as God created you and can come to know that. Okay? Great. How much will your creative passion be misunderstood? It's misunderstood all the time. It's intentionally misunderstood because there's fear or guilt associated with your determination to propagate outside of, we used to call this the old fig leaf idea. Okay? Can you hear this? The fig leaf, the idea of guilt, the primordial guilt of sexuality, is the disconcernment of fear that you feel in miscreating. This is real simple. You're determined to construct children using the sexuality of God. Come on, this would be fun for you if you want to see it. You know the sad part about that? You're finally guilty about your own creations. Well, yeah, what do you mean, yeah? Of course you are. You take it for granted that sex is dirty. Guilty somewhere, something I've got to do in privacy. I wouldn't dare let anyone know that I can really create. And you actually think that there's secrets in the universe, okay? If you want to look at it that way, God is nothing but creative passion. I really get written up for giving this talk. Man says that sex is not evil. Well, shit, nothing is evil. But most emphatically, your passion for union with God is not evil. You can direct it to evilness, and it will be concerned with evilness if it has a limited association with you.
Okay.
And the thing that you will be most guilty about will be your sex.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
Can you get the feel for this?
Yes.
Boy, that's terrible. You're guilty for your own ecstasy. Isn't that funny? You take it for granted. And it's true. I can't solve the problem. Here's the way it's usually solved. In your most ecstatic moments and the result of them, which is a dispassionate reassociation with yourself until you build up more passion, it'll occur to you there's got to be something more than what I'm doing with this passion.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
A lot of you have experienced this, and a lot of humans never experience it. Obviously, the only fun you really have here is sexual. Literally, everything that you do is a gratification for your association, isn't it? You eat and you screw and you just do all of those things that gratify you. And how do they make you feel? They make you feel guilty. They make you feel good and guilty at the same time. Do not underestimate the insanity of the world. What the insanity of the world is saying is, I can create, but I gotta be careful with it. That's sad. What we attempt to do, incidentally, in the subtraction of the necessity to procreate, that is to identify yourself and reproduce yourself in a level of sexuality, is to channel your creative purpose to a broader experience of yourself and the identity with yourself. You understand? What ecstasy do you derive from the Course in Miracles? For many of you in your new mind associations, there's something very ecstatic about the reasonableness of love and the reassociation of your creative purpose using your mind rather than your appendage. The teachings to celibacy are only to retain your creative purposes and use them in broader expansions of you. Is there a question on this?
No.
This is one of the old fundamental teachings. In the Hermetic philosophy, a hermetic being sealed, you were taught to seal your establishment, all right? Don't let the light escape from you. Build up pressure and blow it out the top of your head and you'll be with God. That's the Hermetic teaching. Shut the gates of Jerusalem, it's called. Yeah. Don't use the various gates to get there. So what? I mean, these are all just things that you nod your head with. The fact of the matter is that you are darkness coming to the light. And the closer you get to God union, the more ecstatic, Jesus calls it joyful. The more joyful and happy you will become. What? You're converting your dark side, which is your potential, to light. You're impregnating your dark thought form associations. Class, if your perception is your dark form that hasn't been activated, if you come around a very active, passionate association, it will activate your passion. Anyone that does, I know a lot of guys, you don't like to admit that when you come around this, you get real passionate. Well, of course you get passionate. You go, good. I better not do that. Why do you do that? You've identified it with the human relationship rather than the God relationship. We used to call that cutting yourself off at the pass. You're so afraid of your own passion that you chop off your passion, you go to a nunnery and practice shallow rays of energy. You get into gray rays and flat rays because you're deadly afraid to release your own red. You're understand red? War, Mars, friction. Okay, the blood of the Lamb. Class, the blood of the Lamb is the passion of you converted to the beauty of the white reality of God. Jesus mentions the blood of the Lamb in the Course. He says, properly understood, that's not what it means. See, red passion is red passion whether it's war or love. You see, that's why you're so passionate in your conflict. You understand? And then why you consider sexuality to be abuse. I'm not going to give the talk, but you do. Okay? It's a combat for you. Your ecstasy is in combat. The camaraderie that the males have shared with me is in common purpose to death or war. Quite literally. These guys have fought wars with me in the passion. And our greatest love for each other came in our greatest efforts to overcome the evil that was out there. Do you understand me?
Yes.
That's a statement of fact. That's why countries come together when there's a common enemy.
Yes.
They share the passion of what? Common purpose. See it?
Yeah.
Of course, we have a common purpose. But what is our camaraderie based on? Death rather than life. Okay? I have had a great deal of camaraderie with a lot of you leading you to death. Follow me. So you're standing outside of that and you say, that son of a bitch, you led them up the hill and they all got mowed down. Okay, so the next time I try and recruit you, you don't want to come. You understand? Because you're identifying with being mowed down rather than being in heaven. Can I take it to that for you? Yeah, you stood aside from it and you're identifying whatever this guy is doing, he's leading me to death. And then you give it to Jesus Christ and say he's going to have to die in order that we be saved. And I don't know how much you're staying with me or my mind is just flowing with it. But obviously you believe that Jesus is leading you to death rather than life. And you actually will teach it that you have to undergo some sort of physical death to get it, and it isn't so. What is he finally saying? You're going to have to trust me with this. The reason is the leadership that you have always requested finally has been to serve the purpose of your own self in what the result that you wanted. Do you see? And while I have followed you, or you have followed me because I thought you were right, or you thought I was right, it is all the result of that has always been to death because it was always a limited goal. Okay. Now you're saying that no, I will formulate an association of relationships that will be dedicated to God. And that's a Christian army. And that army cannot fail because it has a single dedication. Yes. Some more faith comes into that. I'm not sure what. Because all the resources you have ever used have always led you to death. Never mind the practice of the relationship. I don't care whether you call each other brothers or sisters or what the hell you call. Obviously, calling each other sisters is a determination to remain separate. Do you have to call yourself brothers? The question whether you have to or not is what your problem is. And that's the fact of the matter. Okay. It could be nothing but a need for you to continue to define yourself with what you think you are.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. It's be up to you. I could use you. Some of you guys just wander around the outside wondering whether you should jump in or not. I don't know. All you got to do is look at what you're doing instead of. I appreciate all the help I can get. If you don't help me, it won't matter. Because you're only in the consequences of your own mind. You see. When it gets this high, when there's this much high association going on, the axiom that Jesus teaches you can't meet a stranger will really begin to occur to you. Because you begin to see all of these associations that, are they the same ones you saw before in limitation? They're exactly the same. You see? Before you defined them as evil or sick or going to harm you, or you wanted temporary identities with them, and now you're defining them as loving and sharing and in your own determination to find God. The key to this is to remember they are the way that you have made them, not the way you thought they were. They can only fulfill what you think that they are. That'll get you out of here.